Hello students, welcome to AffairsCloud.
We have an app called Careers Cloud which you can go and download it from the Play Store. So after downloading it, you can easily log in using your Gmail ID. Once you have logged in, you will be redirected to a home page which contains 4 tabs beneath it. One is Home, the other is All Courses, next is My Courses, and the last one is a Doubt Session. So under All Courses, you can access various types of courses like Reasoning, Quant, English, and also exam specific courses can also be accessed under this All Courses. If you click this Crack Current Affairs, you will be redirected to this page. So under this, you can see various tabs that are available. So here, if you see, the current affairs will be available in English medium, this under Hindi medium, and here banking awareness, we will provide you the monthly compilation of the banking news and current affairs exam PDF, and also special current affairs which includes mainly the budget, the union budget, the economic survey, which is very important from the exam perspective. And this is topic wise content where that topics news related to the specific topic, they will be combined together and provided to you. For example, see appointments. All the appointments in that particular month will be combined together in a specific place. And similarly, in case of banking, economic news, so all will be combined together. So this will be easy for you to relate to each other news. Next, you can access the daily current affairs on a daily basis, weekly basis, and also on a monthly basis. So after reading the weekly or the daily news, you can also attend our quiz in order to strengthen your knowledge. Under the monthly current affairs, if you see, there are 2 types of PDF that are available. One is the pocket PDF, the other one is the normal PDF. This pocket PDF will give you a brief content of our current affairs, and this will provide you a detailed analysis of the current affairs. So it is always preferable to read this detailed analysis and then have a go through of this pocket PDF. Next is that we also provide you the PIB news apart from the current affairs. So you can go and access our PIB news on a daily basis from this part. And as I mentioned, this special CA covers very special topics like budgets and economic survey. After reading the content provided in this PDF, you can go and attend the quiz given below. And next is the exam perspective PDF. So if you see IBPS PO mains, IBPS RRB clerk, SBI clerk, so these are all exam perspective PDF. So if you go and check, these PDF will contain around 5 to 6 months of the current affairs, which has high chances of high chances of being asked in this SBI clerk mains exam. So it is very useful to go and read this PDF from an exam perspective point. Today, we are going to cover March 3rd week banking and finance awareness news. Moving to the first news. The first news is about the inflation data released by the National Statistics Office. So if you see, the National Statistics Office, which works under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, it has released the February month Consumer Price Index for rural and urban and combined data. Rural, urban and combined data CPI has been released for February 2025. If you see, this inflation data is released every month by the National Statistics Office, and this time if you see, the CPI has declined down to 3.61%, which is a very good one compared to the previous month inflation of 4.26%. We know that the RBI target is 4% with plus or minus 2%. So we have achieved 3.6%, which is quite lesser than the 4%, which is very much ideal. The main reason for the reduction in the CPI is the food inflation. The food inflation played a major part for the overall retail inflation to be high. Now the food inflation has decreased, the food prices have decreased, and so the retail inflation has also decreased. So if you see the food inflation for February 2025, if you see, it was 3.75%. It is the lowest level since May 2023. So this much the food inflation has decreased, and that is why the overall headline inflation also has decreased. So remember, food inflation 3.75% and the CPI, the retail inflation, stood at 3.61% for February 2025. Next, if you see rural inflation, the rural sector of the country saw a significant decrease both in the headline inflation and the food inflation. The headline inflation decreased from 4.59% to 3.79%, while the food inflation, if you see, it has decreased to 4% from 6.31%. See the decrease, it is very, very huge. See, if you see, this is the main reason, the food inflation in 6.3, the food inflation in January 2025, that is 6.31%, was the major reason for the inflation to be more than 4%. Since the food inflation decreased drastically, the inflation also decreased. In case of urban inflation, if you see, the headline inflation of the urban sector, it decreased to 3.87%, to 3.32% from 3.87%. And similarly, the food inflation also dropped from 5.53% to 3.2%. So, in the both rural and the urban inflation, the major cause for decrease in inflation is the food prices. The top 5 states with the highest inflation rate, if you see, first it is Kerala with the year-on-year inflation rate of 7.31% for the February month 2025, followed by Chandigarh, next Karnataka, next Bihar, and next Jammu and Kashmir. Remember, the first state with the highest inflation, it is Kerala. You have to remember the overall inflation 3.61% and the food inflation 3.75%. Consumer food inflation. And this is overall inflation. Remember this data. So next, if you see, the Ministry of Finance has announced that in the past 5 years, the MSME sector has performed very well, and so if you see, the loans also provided to this MSME sector has also increased tremendously. Along with it, the NPAs and the gross NPAs have also decreased tremendously. So both have been very good. The loans have increased and the NPAs have decreased. So which is a good sign in both the cases. So if you see, as of March 2020, the total advance outstanding to the MSME sector stood at 16.98 lakh crore. And by March 31st, 2024, it increased to 28 lakh crore. So from 16 lakh crore, it has increased to 28 lakh crore. And similarly, if you see the gross NPA of the MSME sector decreased from 1.87 lakh crore to 1.25 lakh crore. It is the same period. From 1.87 lakh crore decreased to 1.25 lakh crore, and 16 lakh crore to 28 lakh crore. This is the advances that has increased. So you can note down this data. These data will be really helpful during your descriptive answers. Like if there is any question about MSME, because MSME plays a huge role in our economy. They contribute a lot to the job opportunity, to the export, and also to the GDP. So you can tell that what government has done to the MSME sector. You can tell that the loans have increased and also they have tackled down the NPA. So all this can be addressed or can be mentioned in the descriptive answers. So remember these two data, that is the advances, it has increased from 16 lakh crore to 28 lakh crore, and the NPA has decreased from 1.87 lakh crore to 1.25 lakh crore. So try to remember these two data at least. The next news is India to become the world's third largest economy by 2028 as per Morgan Stanley. So Morgan Stanley has stated that now if you see, we are in the 5th position, and by 2028 we are going to go to the 3rd position, that is we are going to be the 3rd largest country. So if you see, by 2028 we will be reaching an economy of 5.7 trillion and we will come to the 3rd place, that is right after USA and China. India economy will expand from 3.5 trillion to 4.7 trillion, which will make it the 4th largest economy. So in 2026 we will become the 4th largest economy. That time the economy value will be 4.7 trillion, and in 2028 we will become a 5.7 trillion economy and become the 3rd largest economy in the world, right after USA and China. This is as per the Morgan Stanley. So Morgan Stanley highlighted that over the time we have improved, India has improved its position in the global. So if you see in the globe, if you see, India was the 12th largest economy in 1990, but we dropped to 13th position in 2000 and again increased to the 9th position in 2020, and currently if you see, we are at the 5th position in 2023. So from 12 to down, so from 12 we went down to 13, then we moved up to 9, and again we have moved up to 5th. And as per Morgan Stanley, in 2026 we will go to the 4th position, and 2028 we will go to the 3rd position. So as per Morgan Stanley, India's share of the world GDP, so out of the world GDP, if you see the India share, it will increase to 4.5% in 2029, and it is also estimated that India's GDP will be 6.3% for the financial year 25, and 6.5% for the financial year 26. So it has also estimated that the inflation will be 4.3% in financial year 27 compared to 4.9% in financial year 25. So remember all this data, it is very, very important. Remember that now we are contributing to 3.5% of the world GDP and we are expected to contribute 4.5% in 2029. So this and all, again, this can also be used in descriptive, like how fast is India growing? Will India become a developed country very soon? So these all data, like as per the Morgan Stanley, because this is a very trustable organization. So this data, Morgan Stanley's data can be used in the descriptive answer. That is why I am telling you, remember such data. Okay, I am not telling each and every video, I do not tell you to note down the points for descriptive, but these points are very important because these kind of points, it's very rare to come in the objective part, but you can use it in the descriptive part. Okay, so even if you retain the information for descriptive part, automatically you will also remember it when an objective kind of questions appears. So do please remember them, it is very, very important.
We have launched a new course called Static Banking Awareness course. Now this course will be helpful for students who are preparing for the banking exams and for the regulatory body exams. And also recently you would have seen Paytm Bank in news frequently. So when an aspirant reads this news, he would have ample number of questions like what is a payment bank, what are the norms for it, and which is the committee that has launched it. So this Static Banking Awareness course lays a foundation to the current banking and finance news. Now, you have to download our Careers Cloud to access this course. Once you have logged into our app, you can go and click this all courses icon and then you'll be redirected to this page. In this, you have to go and click the Static Banking Awareness course, and under the Details tab, you will be able to see a brief about this course. And under the Part tab, it will contain all the contents, all the topics of the contents that are currently available in this course. We are working on this continuously and this will be completed within 2 months. Under the Free tab, you can go and access one content, that is the origin and development content, for free. You can go and read this content and have an idea about this course. After reading this content, do attend the quiz that is also available under the same tab. Now, our team has allocated ample amount of time and resources to curate this content. We have created this content from various books and from various verified websites. Our content is better than any book that is available in the market. This is because we update this content on a dynamic basis. For example, there are currently 39 DRTs that are available in the country now. In future, if one more DRT is created or added, then it would become 40. So we would update this content on a dynamic basis. But in case of books, you have to wait for the next publication for this updated content. Nowadays, a lot of practical questions have been asked in the banking exams. For example, how many public sector banks are available on the stock exchange? Which is the payment bank that is being listed on the stock exchange? So, we try to cover as many practical questions as possible in this course. Apart from this, we also provide you a question bank that will contain around 3000 questions and the previous year questions along with it. We also have a dedicated tab that will release the important RBI notification and the frequent news released by the RBI. You can use this code B15 to avail 15% discount. This is one of the highest discounts that we have offered until now. So do avail this code B15 while you purchase the course.
The next news is SEBI partners with DigiLocker to raise the unclaimed assets in the Indian securities market. So if you see, in order to get back the unclaimed deposits in banks, RBI tries various measures. Similarly, this measure by SEBI is to reduce the unclaimed assets in the Indian securities market. So SEBI, it has partnered with DigiLocker to reduce this unclaimed assets in the securities market. How this will be done? If you see, access to the various features of this, if you see, access to securities holding. So this initiative, if you see, it will enable the investors to store and access information on their demat and mutual fund holdings and consolidated account system to DigiLocker, a key digital public infrastructure. So if you see, the demat and the mutual fund holdings, everything can be accessed via DigiLocker. This is where DigiLocker's picture comes into place. Remember, the investor, they can access the demat and the mutual fund holdings via this DigiLocker. So nomination facility. If you see, so as per this SEBI circular, user, they are now allowed to appoint data access nominees within the digital locker application. That is, here in DigiLocker, the user can appoint nominees that can access the data. So, for instance, if this person, the user, is The next news is SEBI partners with DigiLocker to reduce the unclaimed assets in the Indian securities market. Just like RBI works on reducing the unclaimed FD accounts or the RD accounts in the bank, similarly SEBI has also been planning to reduce the unclaimed assets in the Indian securities market. For this purpose, it has partnered with the DigiLocker. So, various features of this if you see. So, as access to the securities holding. So, the investor or the user will be able to access his or her Demat and mutual fund holdings via the DigiLocker. So, this initiative will enable the investor to store and access information on their Demat and mutual fund holdings through DigiLocker, a key digital public infrastructure. They can store and also access information through this DigiLocker. Next, if you see nomination facility for smooth access. So, as per the SEBI circular, users are now allowed to appoint data access nominees within the DigiLocker application. So, in the DigiLocker application, if you see, the investor or the user, they can appoint a nominee who can access the data. Okay, remember, the users, they can appoint a nominee who can access the data. So, where will this be used? For instance, okay, in case there is a user, he has access, he uses his DigiLocker to view his mutual fund and other stock holdings. Okay, and what happens that he dies over time. So, in that case, what happens is that he would have appointed a nominee, right? That nominee will be able to access this DigiLocker in a read-only access mode. So, he will know that what are the financial holdings of this investor and then go on with the procedure. So, for instance, in the case of a debt of a user, these nominees will be granted read-only access to the DigiLocker account, which will ensure that the important financial information is smoothly accessible to the legal hires. So, this is one of the most important, because we don't know, right, when what happens is that person dies, but the nominee doesn't know that he or she is actually the nominee, or doesn't know that the user has invested in so and so. So, those many things are not known, and that is why there are so unclaimed assets. So, this will really help in reducing the unclaimed assets. Next, if you see automatic notification to the nominees, the circular mentioned that the DigiLocker system will be notified about the user's death by the Know Your Customer Registration Agency, following which the system will automatically notify about it to the data access nominees. So the Know Your Customer agency, okay, registration agency will notify this DigiLocker, and this DigiLocker in turn will notify the nominees, because the nominees details will be stored with the DigiLocker, right? So the DigiLocker will in turn notify the nominee. Next is KRAs have been mandated by the SEBIs to serve as the primary source for verifying and initiating notification to the data access nominees, ensuring seamless transition process. So as per SEBI, all asset management company and recognized depositories, they are required to register with the DigiLocker as issuer, which enable the user to access their holding statement. So these asset management company and the recognized depositories, they will be registered as issuer. It is mandatory for the KRAs to electronically share the details of the all instances of demise of investors stored in their system with the DigiLocker. At any point of time, if any demise of investor happens, and then all the details should be shared with the DigiLocker. That is the duty of the KRA. The next news is about partnership. So the NPCI International Payment Limited has partnered with the Singapore-based HitPay. It is a full stack payment infrastructure firm. Remember, NIPM and HitPay, they have partnered to enable UPI payment in Singapore. So this will help the Indian people who travel to Singapore. They can scan QR code and pay the merchant. This will be very helpful for our Indian travelers. So this marks the second partnership in Singapore following the launch of UPI Pay Now in 2023. So already like similar to this was launched in UPI Pay Now in 2023, and this is the second one. UPI is now operational in Singapore, Maldives, Qatar, Sri Lanka, Mauritius, Bhutan, Nepal, UAE and Singapore, UAE and Canada. Remember all the names, because they might ask you in which country the UPI is not operational or it's not is not yet activated. So you should remember, okay? So remember all these names. Next is CBDT notifies 10-year zero coupon bond of the Power Finance Corporation. So details of the bond, if you see, it is a 10-year zero coupon bond. The life period is 10 years and 1 month, which means 121 months, and they are to be issued on or before March 31st, 2027. The maturity is rupees 1 lakh per bond with a discount of 49,546. The number of bonds, if you see, 10 lakh bonds will be issued. So if you see, the zero coupon bond means most of the bond, they will give you interest. Okay, that is the function of the bond. You will give the principal. Okay, the investor will invest in that bond, and the issuer will give interest to the investor. This is the income of the investor. Okay, they will give the interest up to the maturity period. On the maturity date, the issuer will return back the principal to the investor. Okay, but in case of zero coupon bond, the interest will not be provided to the investor. So then how will the investor earn? The issuer will issue the bond at a high discount. Say suppose the bond value is, the face value of the bond is 100 rupees, but the issuer will issue it only at 80 rupees, and at the time of maturity, he or she will give you the 100 rupees face value. So this 20 rupees is there, right? This is what is earned by the investor. Remember, zero coupon bond, no interest is provided to the investor. What they give is that they will issue the bond at a discount, heavy discount. Say suppose the bond value is 100 rupees, but they will only issue at 80 rupees. But at the time of maturity, they will buy it at the face value, that 100 rupees. So that 20 rupees is what the investor earns. This is the feature of a zero coupon bond. So if the holding period is over 12 months, so since if you see, this is a long period bond, right? So if you hold more than 12 months, then the gains are subject to long-term capital gain tax of 12.5%. Okay. So if you are holding it more than 12 months, then you will be subject to this long-term capital gains, that is 12.5%. The next news is about an insurance license that has been provided by the IRDAI. So here if you see, the IRDAI grants the first private reinsurance license to the Value Ethics Reinsurance. Now what is this reinsurance? The reinsurance, if you see, it is insurance for the insurance company to ensure that no insurance company has too much exposure to a large event or a disaster. So when a large event or a disaster happens, so when people come and claim a lot of money at that point of time from the insurance company, it is very difficult for them to fulfill their obligation, right? Because when when one or two people come, it's okay, but when a whole area affected by a disaster or something, and when the entire area is insured and when they come to claim the insurance, it is very difficult for the insurance company to give everyone the claim amount. So in that scenario, if that scenario occurs in the future, in order to safeguard the insurance company, they take a insurance from another insurance company. That concept is called as reinsurance. So if you see, as a reinsurance company and an insurance company, so this insurance company, if you see, they will shift a part of the risk to the reinsurance. So this insurance company will take an insurance from the another insurance company, and that is called as reinsurance. So by buying an insurance from another insurance company, what happens is that a part of the risk of the insurance company gets shifted to the reinsurance company. And for that, if you see, they pay a certain premium to the reinsurance company, just like any customer pays premium to the insurance company. Okay, a part of risk is transferred to the reinsurance company, and for that, if you see, a premium is paid by the insurance company. This is the concept of reinsurance. And now if you see, a company has got this reinsurance licensing. IRDAI, that is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, whose headquarters is in Hyderabad. So these are all very important. These are all very basic, and it is very, very important for you to know. And if you see, this IRDAI has given license to the Bengaluru-based Value Ethics Reinsurance Limited to make the entry of first private sector reinsurer. This is another important point. So this will be the first private sector reinsurer in India. So prior to this, if you see GIC, I'm sure everyone would have heard about GIC. General Insurance Corporation of India was the sole domestic reinsurer. So after this, if you see, the first private sector reinsurer will be this Value Ethics Reinsurance Limited. So this license, it was decided to give it to the Value Ethics Reinsurance Company in a meeting. Okay. So IRDAI held a meeting. In that meeting, they have decided to provide the license to this Value Ethics Insurance Limited. On the same meeting, they also declared the domestic systematically important insurance company. So we know that for the banks, you know, domestic systematically important banks are there, like 3 banks, that is SBI, HDFC and ICICI. So these are the domestic systematically important banks. Similarly, even under insurance, there are certain insurance companies that are classified as domestic systematically important insurance company. So those insurance company, if you see, they are LIC, New India Assurance Company and GIC. These 3 are the domestic systematically important insurance company for the financial year 25. This was declared in the same meeting when the license was given to the Value Ethics Reinsurance Limited. Remember the 3 DSSI, DSII, it is very, very important. And IRDAI, if you see, it is headed by Debashish Panda. Remember, it is headed by Debashish Panda and it is headquartered in Hyderabad. The next news is about RBI. So RBI has given in principle approval to operate as a cross-border payment aggregator for cross-border transaction to Mumbai-based Brisk Payment Exchange. Remember, the RBI has provided the license, that is to operate as a payment aggregator for cross-border transaction to the Brisk Payment Exchange. So cross-border transaction, when you want to make money, this is especially for the importers and the exporters. So when an importer imports the goods, they have to make payment to the abroad people, right? Similarly, exporter also has to receive the payment. So that payment can be done by this Brisk Payment Exchange now. So if you see, currently the Brisk Payment Exchange processes approximately 10,000 transactions monthly for its export services. I like to mention one point here, that under the payment aggregator for the cross-border, there are 3 types. One is payment aggregator cross-border, import only. Next is payment aggregator cross-border, export only. And third is import and export. So if you see, this Brisk Payment Exchange already had the export license. Okay, now it has received the import and export. So it can do payment for both import and export transaction. So currently, if you see, this payment exchange processes approximately 10,000 transactions monthly for its export services. With the inclusion of the import services, the company anticipates this number to reach 1 lakh transactions by end of the next financial year. Okay, so it already has the export transaction in this thing license. Now it is getting import, so it can do both import and export related transaction. The next is about an MOU, that is Memorandum of Understanding. So if you see, the two parties involved in this MOU is NABARD and J&K Grameen Bank. Okay, remember in MOU, you should remember the parties involved and the purpose. Okay, so here if you see, what is the purpose of this MOU? This is to promote and finance around 2000 joint liability groups. Remember, to promote and finance around 2000 joint liability groups. So here if you see, the NABARD will provide a grant support of rupees 4,000 to each joint liability group to the J&K Grameen Bank. Okay, remember the name, it is NABARD and J&K Grameen Bank, and the purpose is to promote and finance around 2000 joint liability group. Under this, just the double of it, that is 4,000 to each joint liability group will be provided by the NABARD through this J&K Grameen Bank. So always remember that NABARD does not directly finance to any individuals, they will finance only through the banks. So what is the joint liability group? So joint liability group are informal groups of 4 to 10 individuals who engage in similar economic activities. So there the joint liability group size will range from 4 to 10 individuals and they are involved in the similar economic activities. The next news is about a loan agreement. So if you see, the Andhra Pradesh Capital Region Development Authority, they have signed an agreement worth rupees 11,000 crore with the New Delhi based Housing and Urban Development Corporation Limited, HUDCO. Remember, Andhra Pradesh Capital Region Development Authority and the Housing and Urban Development Corporation, which works under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, they have signed a loan agreement that is worth of 11,000 crores. The purpose of this is to construct Amaravati, that is the greenfield capital city of the Andhra Pradesh. So recently only the Andhra Pradesh capital has been chosen. So it is Amaravati for the improvement and for the construction of the Amaravati capital. This agreement has been signed. The amount involved here is 11,000 crore agreement. So apart from that, if you see, the total estimated cost for this Amaravati development is around 50,000 crore, and the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank committed rupees 15,000 crore for the project. We have already covered this some, I think, 1 month back, I guess. So remember, World Bank and the ADB, they have committed 15,000 crore, and here the Andhra Pradesh Capital Region Development Authority signed a 11,000 crore agreement with the Housing and Urban Development Corporation Limited. The Housing and Urban Development Corporation Limited Chairman and Managing Director is Sanjay Kulshrestha. The next news is about an award. If you see, the Reserve Bank of India has won the Digital Transformation Award given by the London-based central banking publication. So remember, London-based central banking publication has given this Digital Transformation Award to Reserve Bank of India, which is a very honorable award. So now, for what purpose this was given? This was given because of the technology-driven initiatives by the Reserve Bank of India, specifically SARTI and PRAVA systems that were developed by the in-house developer team. So PRAVA is full form is Platform for Regulatory Applications, Validation and Authorization. Remember the full form, it is very, very important because mainly for these two initiatives, RBI had got this Digital Transformation Award. So you have to know about these two initiatives, and also you should know the full form of this PRAVA. Platform for Regulatory Application, Validation and Authorization. Now, what is the purpose of PRAVA? So, from the name you can guess that it is regulatory application and validation. So, if any entity or if any individual wants a license, then they have to get the approval. That approval or the license request, it can be submitted in this portal. Remember, any entity or individual, if they want any license, that has to be taken from the Reserve Bank of India, then they have to get the approval, right? So the approval request or the license request, it can be submitted in this portal. So after submitting in this portal, all the documents, related documents and the data submitted by the entity and the individual, they are stored in a safe and secure manner in the database, and that database is called as SARTI. So it's very important to securely protect these data, right? So these data, they are stored in the SARTI database. So remember the two initiative name, it is SARTI and the next one is the PRAVA portal. The next news about a GDP forecast. So OECD, that is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. So mention in the comment section where the headquarters of OECD is located. For Economic Cooperation and Development had revised the India's GDP. It has projected that in financial 25, the India is expected to grow at 6.4%, and financial 26, if you see, 6.6%. Remember, financial 25, 6.4%, and financial 26, 6.6%. And the global GDP forecast is 3.1%, which is slightly lesser than the 3.3% of the forecast it done in December. So, December it had forecasted that the global GDP for 2025 will be 3.3%, but now it has lowered the forecast to 3.1%. The reason for that is, you see, it is trade restriction and geopolitical tensions that are contributing to higher cost for both production and consumption. Due to this reason, it has lowered its forecast to 3.1%. Remember, India's GDP forecast, it is very, very, very important. Financial year 25, it is 6.4%, and financial year 26, it is 6.6%. So next, if you see, it is again about an MOU. So Reserve Bank of India has signed an MOU with the Central Bank of Mauritius, that is Bank of Mauritius. The purpose of the MOU is to promote the usage of the INR and the Mauritian rupee, to establish a framework for promoting the use of Indian rupee and the Mauritian rupee in the cross-border transaction. So we know that the transaction between most of the countries are in dollars. So US dollars, most of the transaction we have with the other countries as with US dollars, and now we are slowly promoting the use of INR. So if you see, even the External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, he had also told that we are, since India's trade is also improving, India's investment is also improving. So we thought, why not increase India's rupee presence also all over the world? So this is one of the initiative of rupee internationalization, that is to improve the rupee's presence all over the world and not just in India. So this is one of the initiative of rupee internationalization. We are also slowly doing it with the other countries also. Remember, Reserve Bank of India and the Bank of Mauritius together have signed for establishing a framework where the Mauritian rupee and Indian rupee can be used for cross-border transaction. So previously, if you see, if an Indian importer buys any goods from the Mauritius, then it used to pay in dollars. Now instead of that, it will pay in Mauritian rupee, and when Indian exporters export goods to Mauritius, then the Mauritian people will pay to us in the Indian rupee. So promoting the use of Indian rupee and the Mauritian rupee in the cross-border transaction. Remember, the PM of Mauritius is Navin Chandra Ram Gulam. Remember, it is very important. Navin Chandra Ram Gulam. The next news is about Paytm Money. So SEBI has given a license to the Paytm Money Limited. That is, now Paytm Money Limited, they can operate as a research analyst. So it has received the certificate of registration to operate as a research analyst. Now, what is a research analyst? So you can guess from the name is that they provide research. For what? So they conduct research, analyze data, and produce reports on securities like stocks, mutual fund, bonds that are listed or to be listed on a stock exchange. See, it is very, very difficult for individual people to understand the raw data of any company. And it is also not possible for many people to come and look into the balance sheet, the profit and loss statement, the cash flow statement of each and every company, right? When a people wants to invest, so it is very difficult for that. So these research analysts, they do the analysis and they produce their reports. This is what is the job of a research analyst, and recently Paytm Money Limited has got the license to operate as a research analyst from the SEBI, that is Securities and Exchange Board of India. The next news is also about a rating. So the New York-based credit rating agency, that is Fitch Ratings, they have projected that the India's GDP will be at 6.5% for the financial year 26. Remember, we just saw that OECD, they had projected 6.6% for the financial year 26, and for the financial year 25, they had projected 4%. Okay, remember financial 25 6.4% and financial 26 6.6%. Whereas here Fitch ratings, they have projected 6.5% for the financial year 26. So if you see, it has raised India's GDP forecast for the financial 27 to 6.3% from the previous forecast of 6.2%. So this also you have to note down. For financial 27, the forecast is 6.3%. Credit rating agency also has projected that 2 additional cuts in the policy rate for this calendar year. So it is also expecting that 2 additional cuts will happen in the policy rate for this calendar year, that is calendar year 2025. And you have to tell me in the comment section that what is the current repo rate. It's very easy question. I'm sure everyone will be able to answer. Mention in the comment section what is the current repo rate.
Thank you for watching the session. I hope you had enjoyed it. We're also available in Telegram under the name AffairsCloud_official. We also have an Instagram handle. Apart from this, you can contact us directly on 9677333862 regarding any courses that we offer or regarding any payment issues. You can contact directly on this number. Thank you.